Good morning, one and all. Today we are going to make some curtains for our doll's house. We need these little kebab bamboo sticks. They have a little pointy edge one side. They don't necessarily have to have a pointy edge, by the way. Anything will do. Good old faithful metal ruler, scissors, glue, fabric glue. I really like that one, but there's obviously lots of choices. Fabric, choose which one you want. I'm going to go for that one. I think that will look quite nice. Ideally use cotton because it's just easier and the glue sticks better. But polyester would work. You've just got to be careful with the glue on it. I don't want to tell you how to suck eggs, but if you fray it a bit first, like I'm doing, then you'll get like your proper edge so you can see where you are. Like that. See? Perfect. Just going to cut those little frayed bits off the edge. So I've got a nice sharp edge to start with. Probably could have done with some bigger scissors looking at that. So I've measure your window, measure how long you want your curtains. Remember your seam allowance. So I would add on an extra centimetre all the way round, because by the time you've turned it up 5mm one side and the other side, you're going to be a centimetre short. So overestimate, because you can always cut it down afterwards. I probably should have ironed this fabric. It doesn't look very professional, does it? And you're not going to notice by the time I've put all my creases in. Okay, so there's a little bit, and we're almost ready to start the next part. Neaten it off. I'm then going to cut this in half, so I've basically cut this long enough for 2 windows. It looks tiny, doesn't it? But it is the right size. I don't know why I did that extra fold in the middle there, but there you go. That's the trouble with videos. You can't really go back and redo it. Well, I could, but it would take a long time. All right, so there we are. We're ready to go. So this is when we need our little kebab stick. Again, cut to length. So whatever the length of your curtain rail is going to be, this is the length you're going to cut it to. So it's usually wider than your window, because you want them to be you don't want them to be completely covering the window. So you need to go out, well, you need to look at your own house that you're doing, but I think I've gone out a good centimetre each side of the window, so that by the time I've got my curtains on and they're pulled back, you can still see most of the window, because I don't want to shut the light out as you would in a normal house. They look so tiny, don't they? So now I'm going to hem round each edge using my fabric glue. You can try, there's tacky glue you can get. You can get that really cheaply from different craft shops. That does work as well, but I just personally prefer this glue. But if you've got tacky glue at hand, give that a try. I prefer to put it on. I'm just using the end of my kebab stick that I'm not going to be using. Because if you try and squirt it out the nozzle, you know what happens. You squirt, nothing happens. Then all of a sudden, there's an explosion and you get a big blob of glue where you don't want it. So this is how I do it. So we're now going to do all 4 sides, and I'm just going to speed up a bit so you don't get bored. Wouldn't it be great if you could speed up ironing in real time, in real life even, like this? So you go around all 4 sides and make sure you let it dry properly. It doesn't take very long with this glue, but I would give it half an hour at least to properly dry before you go on to the next bit. We're now going to attach it to our kebab stick. So don't use the kebab stick that you've just measured to get the right size. This is just a normal. This is just one that's just out of the pack that I've not cut, because we're going to use this almost as our mould, so we get like a tube effect in our curtain, so that we can then thread that through onto our proper pre-cut curtain rail. So apply a little bit of this glue, just only to the edge, because what we don't want is it to stick to the kebab stick. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So you're going to just fold that over and then press it down flat on the fabric. And remember, you don't want it to stick to the kebab stick. There we go. It's not quite stuck down there, so just put a bit more on. And hopefully, there you go, that's all stuck down nicely. This next bit is quite essential. Okay, so get ready and twizzle, 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 twizzle. Now, obviously you don't really have to do this, but it does stop it from sticking to the kebab stick. So make sure that's properly dry before you do the next stage. Otherwise, if you start moving it, it will stick to the kebab stick again. So once it's dry, we're now going to put in a few creases. So all I'm doing here is pushing it. Hopefully you can see. Pushing it nice and tight there. And folding in a few little creases. I'm not ironing it. I'm just literally, the warmth of my hand will be enough. And then once I've got the curtain in place on the wall, I'll then add a little bit of glue to get it exactly where I want it to be. And I'm going to put tie backs on mine as well. So at this point, you obviously do what you want. If you don't want them gathered, you don't have to. If you want them more modern, you might not even want any gathers. So that's up to you with your house, whatever you choose to do. But I'm going with the country gathered look. See, it's starting to look like a little curtain now. So you're just going to slide that off now, and that's going to be ready to go on to the next one. And I've always wanted to say that, but here's one I prepared earlier. So there are my two curtains. Now they're ready to put on my pole. So just thread them through. Now what I make sure I do with mine, and again it's all personal choice, up to you, but I don't want mine won't be open and closable. They are going to stay open. And that's it. So I'm going to glue on the very, very end. I'm going to put a little bit of glue there just to stop them sliding where I don't want them to go, because I want to, it's hard to explain, but when they're on, you know, like when you have tie backs and you want to pull them across into the middle a bit so that they're not too flush against the wall, but you don't want them to come away from the wall. So I'm putting a bit of glue on the end of there. You'll see when it's in position. Oh, I'm really babbling, aren't I? Sorry. It's hard to do this and show you what to do without your own hands getting in the way, but I think you can get the idea. So I'm pushing that on. I'm putting a little bit of glue on both sides so that they can't move, basically. They're at the position I want them to be. Let's speed up a bit. There we go. So now I've got what now starts to look like two little curtains. I've put some tie backs. All I've done here is I've tied a little bit of string on there. And now I'm going to add some details to the poles. These are just little beads. They're like jewellery findings that you'd use to make earrings, little silver ones. I think these ones were from Temu. I'll see if I can link to these. They weren't very expensive, but you can get them from Hobbycraft and all sorts of the range, you know, all sorts of places like that. I don't want them to look silver in my cottage, so I am just painting them or colouring them in even with a permanent marker, which is like a bronze colour. So they look more rustic. So they are now on and in position. So we're almost ready to attach them to the wall. So now I'm going to add my glue gun to the back of there and then very quickly get them into position before it sets. Then just make a few adjustments. I actually put a little bit of extra glue on them and stuck them to the wall so that they hang exactly how I want them.